Hello guys, welcome to my channel. It's Shazeb from Germany and I got a novelty. It was my first FM win. It happened in 2024. I played in a Wiesbaden Open and I got some quite a decent amount of points. It went great. And I also had a lot of fun playing there. Okay, then get started. We start with e4 and he plays c6. All theory. We go into this attack, the two knights attack, and he plays knight f6. We play theory e5, he goes for knight e4, and I play d4, solidifying my center. He has multiple options, but he decides to take, which is also good, and he takes. I take. And then we followed with c5, and I play bishop e2. Of course, you can also take the pawn, but I don't like my pawn structure here. The pawn on c3 and c5 are just way too weak, and the c2 pawn, it won't work. So instead, I played bishop e2, and we got 96 on the board. And bishop g4. Here, I prepared some tactics for him, and I played knight g5. At first, it doesn't look like much, but after the trade here, he cannot take the pawn on d4, because if he does, one second, if he takes pawn here, then I can push with e6. And if he were to play something like f6 or f5, both are not good because I can take the pawn and I can go to f7. And if he takes here, queen takes e6, and I'm completely dominating this game here. That's why he did not take and played e6. And here I prepared another variation for him, bishop e3. Here again he cannot take because if he does, we lead into this position here. I'm down a pawn, but I have enough compensation here. Maybe a little more in compensation here because if he moves e7, then he loses like this, and yeah, he lost the rook. And if he goes here, it's close to mate here. That's why he did not play this line, which is also good. Yeah. Instead, he played h6, pushing my knight away. I moved my knight to h3. Here, my idea was to play f4 and maybe push my pawn to f5 to break his pawn structure. But here he played queen d7. And then I realized something. What if he doesn't even castle shot in the first place? Then this attack wouldn't make too much sense, as I'd be opening my own king. That's why I prepared. I first played rook b1 and he castled. Now I wanted to get all my pieces inside. But before that, I need space. So I first took the pawn. My pawn structure looks very weak, but it's dynamically pretty good. I got my pawn is doing a lot here, attacking both these squares here. And I got actually great control on the queen side. And he took the pawn, of course. I played knight f4, maybe rerouting my knight c4, and I played knight to d3. I got my knight on a nice square, and he played king to b8, with the idea of moving his king to a8 and take it into safety. But yes, now I got my knight to b4, which Stockfish does not agree with me here because I moved my knight too many times. Moving my knight 4 times isn't that idea. And now came king h8, and I thought if I'm controlling the b file, why don't I take a little more of it and open up the b file? Again, Stockfish does not agree with me because my pawn was actually way better and I could have kept it, but I found it pretty interesting and I like to attack, so I found it as a great option. And after b takes e6, I got my knight on a6. My knight is stationed very good, and I also have a lot of control over the game. Bishop d6, and now I got my bishop to c5. I didn't like my bishop too much, so I just traded off to make the game easier to attack and maybe just get all my pieces inside. He defended it. He could have taken it, but yeah, this is also a great move. We traded it off, and I played queen to bishop, rook to d1 first. My apologies. He played his queen back, and I played queen to g4. Here, he played c5, which is a good move, but it opens up his king. So, yeah, here I got my queen to g3. I could have taken a pawn, but I do not like this variation at all. First of all, because he has rook g8. And second of all, I'm just hanging a piece because queen to d6 just my knight is trapped and it has nowhere to go. So I just lose it on the spot. That's why I did not play that, and I played queen to g3 instead, preparing a nice idea. Here, if we were to just do a random move, then I would be able to get my knight on c7, and he would lose his queen. For example, like this. His king has nowhere to go, so he's forced to take, and I can take back, and I'll be in a good position here. Instead, he played a good move, rook c8, which stops the threat, and I got my rook. I needed more pieces, this was not enough, and I got my rook up here so that I can follow it up with my next rook. Rook g8 and rook b1. Here, in this position, I wasn't too scared of to move knight to b2, d2 here, because it would just lead to mate here. And this would be a checkmate. That's why he did not play that. And of course, he's an FM. He wouldn't miss it that easily. So he played knight to b6 to stop the threat. It's a great move. a4. Now I'm trying to push my pawn to a5 to move the knight aside. He played e5, which blocks the path here, and my queen cannot come in the way. He pushed a5. I pushed a5, sorry. And after knight to a4, I got my queen to d3, setting up a nice trap. And now he played the move queen to d6, which is a blunder. But not many moves are here better. I'm completely winning here. Do you see the tactic, guys? I'll give you some time to find it. So the correct move here is queen takes d5. I sacrifice my queen on the spot, and here he was forced to take it. There is no other good move here. If he plays queen to c6, then I could just sacrifice my rook here, and I can take the queen. Now he's forced to block, and I can checkmate him nicely. If he blocks with the rook, it won't be any different. Here I can just take, and this should be made. That's why he took it. Now I had to find the second move too. This was another brilliant move. Rook b8. He's forced to take, he doesn't have any option. And now comes the idea. I move my knight to c7. Before the problem was I could not move my knight to c7 because the queen and rook were defending, so this wouldn't be a mate. That's why I first deflected the queen, and now I deflected the rook. And after both the pieces were deflected, I was able to move my knight to c7 and checkmate him. This was a great match. The funny thing is, I wasn't even aware he was an FM. I knew that he had high rating, but I didn't check the titles and everything. But all in all, it was a very fun match and I had a great time playing with him. Okay, that's all for today. Maybe I'll show you my next few titled wins later. And like and subscribe. Bye.